So there's a couple of options that you can go with when you are not necessarily designing on Photoshop. If you're using, for example, Canva or Procreate to design, there's, like I mentioned, a couple of options that you can do to avoid the whole Photoshop process. And then again, it's just really if you're comfortable with doing it this way versus the way that we learned how to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this version of it just because maybe it might be something that you're comfortable with and it's might be a little easier for you. You'll skip a couple of steps. So what you want to do, obviously, when you create on Canva or Procreate, you not only save your file as a transparent image, but you also have to um, say designate the size of that file. So you want to get it formatted into the 48 by 24, and then you can bring it on to Illustrator. So what I did is that I saved one as a 48 by 24. So I'm going to go ahead and click on open because what I want to open first is my template where I keep my crop marks. So you should have it on your drive. And if you don't have it on your drive, then you just let me know and I'll put it on there for you. So I'm going to go into here. This is my drive. I keep mine under miscellaneous just because I've got a ton of other stuff there. So I'm going to open up my 48 by 24 crop mark template. So I'm going to hit open and it should open up shortly. All right. So here's where I have it. Now it popped up my layers automatically. Again, your settings might be a little bit different, but you can always, like if there's stuff here that you don't need, we don't need any of these. So we can close, right click and close, right click and close. We can even close these. I rarely use these. I just use my layers and sometimes I use my library when I throw in clip art on there. But in this case, I don't even need it. So I'm just going to close that as well. Let's say I accidentally closed this. If I ever need it, I just go to Windows, click on layers, and it pops right back up. So on your layers, you have three here. You have your crop marks, your cut lines, and your art. Your layers might be a little different. I suggest you put your art at the very bottom. So if your setup is like this, then just drag your art, click on it, hold it, and drag down so that it's at the bottom. This helps especially when you don't have a transparent image and it's a solid image, then you can visually see your cut lines if it's on top. So once you have that, and like I said, you've already created your design on Canva, you want to go ahead and select your art layer and then go into File and Place. I just place this one under Sea Creatures because I created that one under Procreate. And again, this is my transparent image. It could have been a solid, a JPEG. It could have had a solid background in the back as well. It didn't really matter if I'm going with this option. So then I'm just going to place it here. Now that I have it there, I want to make sure that I do not mess with my crop marks. These need to be exactly aligned. So I'm going to lock the crop marks and I'm going to lock my art. And that way now all I need to do is work with my cut lines. So all you basically do is zoom into wherever you want to start. And then you grab your curvature tool and you just go for it. So here I am just going to start with a shape. Notice that there is white. I don't want to fill, so I just need to click on no fill. And so my image pops up. I'm going to grab that tool again, and then I just get to work. Like I know here I'm going to need a anchor. So I'm just going to double click. So that comes up with that little dot in the circle. And then these can be smooth. And so all I'm doing is basically what I would have done with the silhouette, except I didn't go through the process of a silhouette. Again, it just depends on how comfortable you already are putting your own cut lines. Some people like that precision of the cut line being exactly the same length and width all the way around. So the silhouette process on Photoshop is really the way to go if you want that. But if you're comfortable with it, just like I'm okay with this being a little bit wider than necessarily this here, then you can go this way as well. And so again, once you decide where your anchors and where your corner anchors and your smooth anchors go, you can just take it from there. All right. And so that's it there. See, and I'm pretty comfortable with the way that works or that looks. Um, so at this point, I would just then address the cut lines for each one. So now that I'm done with this one, I can move on to the next one. Again, I just do any shape and then I start working it into um, the shape that I need for that specific clip art. You don't want your cut lines to touch either way, so you got to be careful with that. Also, depending on the size, um, just make sure that you put your corner anchors where they belong and your smooth anchors where they belong to. So, like here, I need to keep in mind that I'm going to end up putting the cut line for the well in a bit, and I don't want it to touch. So I've got to make sure that that cut line is a little closer than, or just a little closer in general. And so there you go. And so I won't bore you with having to do the cut lines for all of them. If you accidentally put one there, you can do Control Z just to delete it or remove it. Again, you just want to make sure that there's no anchors no anchors where they don't belong. Even if they're tiny, they're still going to make an impact when it starts cutting. So that's it. So that's one way. After this, again, it just depends on how comfortable you're with it, or with doing the cut lines on your own. So then after this, you would then just go through the process of, I'm going to go ahead and save as an AI. I'm just going to create a random folder here. And I'm going to put H123 Sea Creatures. You have your own designated area, whether you keep them on your documents, whether you keep them on your external drive, that's totally up to you. So H123 Sea Creatures quarter sheet, H123 Sea Creatures US, and I'm saving that as an AI. I'm going to hit save. All right. Assuming I had done the cut lines all the way around, now I'm just going to close that little eyeball out so that I can export the art. Now, one thing I missed is I need to make sure that all of my artboards or all of my designs have the SKU number on there. So I'm going to go into the art layer here. If I forgot to put it when I was designing it, then I can go ahead and put it now. I just selected my art layer and then I selected the text box. And here's where I can change the size. I'm going to go 50 and H123. That's it. Lock it back up. Now I'm going to turn off this little eyeball for the cut lines because I don't want to export my print file with the cut lines on there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Then I'm going to go do File, Export, Export As. Because I had previously saved my AI, under that, I'm already there. And then I'm just going to change this to JPEG. and I'm going to hit export. You don't mess with this. It should be CMYK 10 maximum, resolution 150. Just hit OK. And so once that's done, then you go ahead and turn those cut lines back on, unlock your layers, and then select your art and completely delete that layer. So the only thing you should have is the layer for the crop marks and the layer for the cut lines. And you want to make sure that you only have those two. If you only turn off the eyeball and so that you don't see it, we're going to have issues trying to cut it because the art layer is still on there. So make sure you delete completely. And then what you do is go File, Save As, and you're going to save as an SVG. And then hit Save. And that's it. After that, then you go through the process of uploading your SVG and your print file into the drive for Ultra Print. I hope this helps. If this is good for you, then that's great. I will also work on another video showing you the process through Photoshop if you want more detailed cut lines, because I know here stars have not always been my forte. So let me do that.